Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we're going to recap day number 10 of San Francisco 49ers training camp, including a major roster shakeup, Ricky Pearsall continuing to impress, and did the San Francisco 49ers just hand Jake Moody the kicker job in 2025? All of that coming your way right here on the show. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave us that 5-star audio podcast review. Still shooting for 100 before regular season week number 1. If you can do that, great. And you can help us out, awesome. But let's dive into day number 10 of San Francisco 49ers training camp. And the day began with a load of roster moves before practice even started. San Francisco essentially lit up the Niners Twitterverse, if you will, and had us all in a frenzy this morning because they signed 5 players and they cut 5 players. They signed defensive end Bradlee, I think it's Anae, I hope that's correct. They also signed offensive tackle Isaiah Prince, cornerback Fabian Moreau, re-signed, and I told you this would happen, re-signed safety Jalen Mahoney back to the 90-man roster, and then signed wide receiver Robbie Chosen Anderson, which leads us to the releases / waves that were needed to make room for those 5 players. I don't think any of those 5 players, maybe outside of Mahoney, have an actual shot to make the 53-man roster out of camp, but who they released is definitely where the talking points and conversation were being had on social media, because they released wide receiver Marquez Callaway, tight end Mason Pline, quarterback Tanner Mordecai, wide receiver Isaiah Nayor, and the big one, the doozy of the bunch, they released kicker Greg Joseph. Now, that's a lot to take in. I know a lot of people were upset as to why San Francisco released Isaiah Nayor. Now, a lot of these releases and signings, and even Kyle Shanahan talked about this in his post-practice press conference, that they're just trying to make room for people because they have joint practices and they have a preseason game where they don't have the luxury to keep, 4 quarterbacks and 2 kickers. They have to have defensive ends and wide receivers and offensive linemen to actually be able to play football at the end of this week. So a lot of these guys may find their way back on the roster after the game on Saturday against the Broncos. But right now, at this point in time, San Francisco has released Isaiah Nayor, Tanner Mordecai, and Greg Joseph. And I saw a lot of people questioning Tanner Mordecai. I'm not really shocked. I didn't even understand them signing a 4th quarterback in the first place. But Mordecai has not played well. He's not been good at all. So I do think he may find himself back in the roster as early as maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. I don't know how much they want Brock Purdy to play in the preseason, so having 3 other quarterbacks should help. I think they just want to get through and into joint practices, knowing that Mordecai can be in play as a backup, even if he isn't there through the next, couple of days of practice. So he may be signed back as early as before Saturday's game. The other guys, though, Isaiah Nayor, a lot of people were like, what the heck's going on? Why'd you cut him? Everybody was hyping up out of camp, and there was no padded practices, and he was the big standout, and this, that, and the other. That's exactly it. With no pads on, he was a standout. And he has a great physical build, and he's 6'4" and 200 pounds, and I get it, right? There's reasons to like him, want to keep him around, and again, they may bring him back. But once the pads came on, not really someone that has stood out at all. He's kind of pushed back into the crowd and looked like any other receiver. Like Pearsall's gotten better, right? Watkins has gotten better and emerged. Gage has remained consistent. Demarcus Robinson looks good. Even today, Tariq Owens had a bigger play than Nayor has had since pads have come on. So he has kind of fallen by the wayside. He needs to play. He needs the reps, but San Francisco, I don't think, has the luxury of keeping him around. He didn't do much to kind of get in their good graces this early into his rookie season. So he was cut, not shocking, but the big one is Greg Joseph, which means by cutting Greg Joseph, San Francisco has opened the door has essentially given Jake Moody the kicker job in 2025. At least that's the conversations being had amongst the fans today. A lot of uproar. People are upset. They're angry. They're mad. I am not shocked at all by this move. I figured Jake Moody would win the job out of camp. But a lot of it does seem like back talk, or at least kind of two-faced by what the San Francisco 49ers are getting at of, like, we have to have actual preseason games, and those will be what decides who becomes the kicker. And I think it's always going to be hard, or it was always going to be hard, to find each kicker places or a time to make field goals and kickoffs and whatnot during preseason games. It's unpredictable. Your team could score no points. Your team could score 45 points. You just don't know. And I think it's almost better suited to let Jake get the first game, let Greg Joseph take the second game once guys get healthy, and then have those guys kind of battle things out if it needs to happen that way in preseason week 3. So I wasn't shocked by it at all. I predicted Jake, and I believe Jake will still win the job, even if Greg Joseph was on the team still. They can still sign him back. I think they will. I just think they are kind of pausing the competition for a short period of time to, again, give them the bodies to be able to do joint practices. Because last year, San Francisco had joint practices scheduled with the Saints, and everybody got hurt and they couldn't do them. And it kind of set the tone for how bad last year was going to be. And Shanahan values joint practices so much, and knowing that this team is so young and they're going to have so many new starters or younger guys playing a lot this year for them, he wants to see and get all those joint practices in. So it just feels like a way to make room for the roster or guys on the roster, get maybe other glimpses at guys you want to see, and also not have a fourth quarterback and the third kicker take up a roster spot from, say, an offensive lineman, which Andre Dillard's out still, hasn't practiced once. Get a new tackle in there should certainly help. So I don't think this is any reason to overreact. I get it. People are mad. People just don't like Jake Moody, and a lot of reasons to do so, but just pause. I think Greg Joseph will be back. I do not think this is San Francisco waving the white flag saying Jake is the winner. I think it's just them simply pausing the competition for maybe a week. So you may get your wish. Greg may come back and may very well beat Jake. The big kind of conundrum was Greg Joseph has a 1-kick lead over Jake in training camp. And again, training camp kicker stats are now a thing, I guess, amongst the fan base, which is crazy. But people were saying Jake was 1 kick behind. Why did he stay instead of Greg? Jake has a 2-year contract, still third-round pick. Greg was a veteran free agent signing for 1 year. There is clear financial reasons to keep Jake around. And Jake hasn't looked terrible. He's been fine enough. And you want to give Jake the opportunity, being the incumbent guy, although not great, but also a guy you did spend a pretty high draft pick on for a kicker. You want him to have the opportunity more than Greg Joseph, who you kind of know what you're going to get from, to prove himself. So I'm not shocked at all. Well, like, this is like, yep, that makes sense. Now, I didn't think this would happen because of injury and needing to find roster space, but had everyone been healthy and no one was hurt, Greg would still be here. Like, this would not have changed. They're pressing pause, walking away, and they will resume, at least that's my opinion, they will resume the competition maybe after preseason week 1 or maybe shortly before. Papa J says here in the YouTube chat, what's up, Sterling? What's up, Papa J? Also want to say hi to our girl Lori out there in Phoenix. I hope she's having a great night on this Monday afternoon, evening, whatever it may be. But she asks here, are there any other free agent kickers out there if this fails horribly? Well, right now, Greg Joseph. Again, I really don't think that they are going to just eliminate the competition now. Jake hasn't done enough just yet. Even Brant Boyer said, I think, like, the games themselves will be the big defining factor in who wins that job. So I don't think they would outright lie about that unless they are just like, yep, Jake's the guy, and maybe they are. But I don't think they would do that this soon, knowing that Jake hasn't been perfect, and then they really haven't gotten the chance to do kickoffs and coverages and stuff like that. And then field goals in games. Jake's always been a great practice kicker, and he sucks come game time. So I think we will all get to see Greg Joseph and Jake Moody actually duke things out as the preseason or training camp sessions progress. I don't think he'll be gone longer than 1 week's time, unless I'm being duped and this is Jake's job now, which could be the case. I don't know any other kickers besides Greg Joseph. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't spend my free time on scouring the kicker market. This really isn't in my forte. I have better things to do than that. But maybe I will, once we're done here, go on Spotrac, see who's a free agent kicker, and see maybe who could be Jake Moody's next competition during this training camp and preseason sessions. But no one else really stands out, but I don't think Greg will be gone for too long. I want to continue, though, because that was before practice. Now we're in practice, and we got a lot of guys returning, 4 of them, not too much, but 4 of them returning, and a ton of guys not on the practice field. And it may show you as to why having 4 quarterbacks and 2 kickers really isn't necessary right now, because Diamador Lenore came back, has a hip injury, was limited today, but was out there, so a really good sign from him. Colton McKivitz came back after missing practice on Saturday. Jordan James, who we weren't really sure what was going on with him, how serious it was, he was back today. He did individual drills and warm-ups. He did not do team drills, so slowly bringing him along. I think a lot of that, 1, is because as he's hurt, but also 2, Isaac Guerendo going to be out for a while. But Darrell Luter Jr. also came back today. So 4 guys back in the fray, meaning the absences were abundant, excuse me. Nick Bosa did not practice today. According to the team, he has soreness, not sure where, but I'm sure Nick, who's having a great camp, just needed the extra day off. But has some soreness. I'm sure he's ramping up for joint practices on Thursday. He'll be out there for sure. Christian McCaffrey had rest, and so did Trent Williams. But a lot of guys got hurt on Saturday. A lot of guys who didn't know what happened. We now have clarity on players like Kyle Juszczyk and Isaac Guerendo, because Juice has an Achilles injury. Now, when I say that, it sounds really bad. Your mind wanders as to, oh my God, what could that be? Is it a tear? Or is it a calf injury? I guess he got stepped on, but not in a drastic way. He got clipped. It cut his Achilles on his skin. He's okay. They're just like, you know what? Take a day off. Take 2 days off. Don't worry about it. Anytime you hear Achilles, you're like, uh-oh. But he's day-to-day. He'll be okay. Did not mean that to rhyme, but here we are again. Running back Isaac Guerendo. Unfortunately, when you draft players that are often hurt in college, when they get into the NFL, they are often hurt at that level as well. And Isaac Guerendo, for all the good things he can do, he can never, ever, ever stay healthy. He has a shoulder injury. He will miss a few weeks. Not sure if that is a few weeks meaning 2 preseason games, or that means this Monday to next Monday and later in the week, but he'll miss a chunk of time, likely will not play in the next 2 weeks of training camp or preseason. Will miss joint practices against the Broncos, and Raiders will also miss games against both those 2 teams as well. So not ideal, but we do get a longer look at Corey Kiner and Jordan James because of that. And again, get the injuries out of the way now, but it still sucks to see young players that you hope could take big steps in year 2 be on the sideline more than actual the field this early into the season. Yetur Gross-Matos has not practiced 1 time. We saw him on the field, on the side field a couple days ago, I believe. He was back on the side field today doing a more rigorous workout, and it seems like he's gearing up to return either tomorrow, so Tuesday, or he'll be a participant in Wednesday's walkthrough and return on Thursday for joint practices. So he looks like he's gearing back. They did the same thing with him as they did Ben Barch, had a really intense workout on the sideline, then came back the next day or 2. So good signs for him. You want to see, again, Gross-Matos' job is not safe, but you want to see that defense at full force and on full display in preseason, because the more those guys can get out there, the better with Robert Saleh back in business. Bernardo Green still didn't practice with the hamstring. Neither did Cowing. Then Jair Brown also with an ankle injury. He is healthy enough to practice and play, but they're giving him rest as he recovers. Kevin Givens will miss the entire preseason, if not a chunk of the regular season, with, I think it's a pectoral injury. Not sure if it's a tear or a really serious strain. They didn't tell us that, but it seems like he's probably going to start the year on IR or the PUP list, depending on how they want to, like, what category he belongs in. But he's probably going to miss a big chunk of the season, or a big chunk of the preseason, a smaller chunk of the regular season. And then we have Sam Mokuanu, who will also miss a couple of weeks with a groin injury. Again, not sure if that's 2 games or just 2 weeks of time, but he will not play this Saturday against the Broncos and is in jeopardy of not playing against the Las Vegas Raiders in 2 weeks' time. Then there is Jauan Jennings, who I don't think his calf injury is him playing coy. Why don't you pay me, Kyle? Then I'll play. Like, he's not going to pull a Seth Rollins at SummerSlam on Sunday and come out on crutches and have the brace on. Then as soon as he gets paid, the crutches are gone, the knee brace is off, and he's throwing it off. He's not going to pull a Kevin Nash in WCW and get out of the wheelchair with the broken cast on. Like, he's not going to do that, right? But I do think that Kyle today told the media, told us, a pretty telling response when asked about Jauan's injury and if it's real, if it's that serious, where he's kind of just playing the game of pay me, then I'll play as things progress in their negotiations. But Shanahan more so alluded to the fact that you can talk to Jauan about that. The injury looks real, but kind of hinted towards, like, there may be maybe a little bit more of like, this hurts, I can't practice today. Meanwhile, he's like doing his own reps behind the scenes and stuff. So I'm not saying he's actually doing that. I'm just saying Kyle made it seem like that. There may be a little stinginess afoot, if you will, from Jauan Jennings, but I do think he has a serious calf injury. I do think that he's not milking things. I do think that they also would hold him out anyways if he was injured with a calf injury, knowing how things progressed with Christian McCaffrey last offseason. But that's the absences. It's a lot of them. I think they're at like 13 or 17 players. It's a lot of guys. A lot of guys if you include Mustafa, Ayuk, Dillard, and those guys. So not ideal as you head into your first preseason game. There are some rumblings that joint practices might be in jeopardy, which you never want to hear, hence why they signed those 5 guys today. Let's see what we have in the YouTube chat. Calachipto's in here alongside Papa J and Lori Matthews. Papa J says here, or asks here, Sterling, do you think Carter Bradley is a lock for quarterback 3? No, I don't think this team needs to keep 3 quarterbacks. I think if you want to talk about quarterback 3, Bradley belongs in a similar category to Tanner Mordecai, of like practice squad guy, emergency third quarterback, stuff like that. But I don't think it's like, I don't care enough about quarterback 3, to be honest with you. But I do think he's a practice squad player. He's not good enough. He's just not good enough yet. Now, maybe as time goes along and we can see more of him, maybe that changes. Maybe he balls out in preseason and we all go, interesting. But I think Carter Bradley is on the same tier as Tanner Mordecai. This guys you have on your practice squad that can give you some reps in training camp and nothing more, nothing less, hopefully. And if Brock and Matt can stay healthy, then you're perfectly fine with that. He also asks, do you think the Niners will keep 3 quarterbacks and Curtis Rourke this season? I think Rourke will be a stash injured reserve save. There may be a point in time where he gets activated. Not sure. I don't think they want to utilize one of those for him. But I do think that they drafted him with the intention of him vying for quarterback 2 or 3 next season. And to kind of just, they like his talent. He fits the offense pretty well. Just injured guy. He's going to be a stash this year. So it will be 3 quarterbacks, Purdy, Mac on the actual roster, whether it's Bradley, Mordecai, whoever it may be on the practice squad as the emergency third guy, then Curtis Rourke on the PUP or IR. But it seems like that's going to be the case. He also asks here, how many series do you think Brock and CMC will play against Denver this weekend? I don't know how much the starters will play at all. My guess is that the starters don't play in week 1, or at least like Brock and Christian McCaffrey and Trent and Bosa and Fred don't. Like, you will see some starters play, like D. Winters will probably play. You'll probably see other guys like Pinnock and Richie Grant, who are vying for that other safety job, play. Jair Brown will probably play. If not this week, certainly next week. I'm going to assume if they do play, the most is like 1 series and they're done. I think when you have Jordan James injured currently, although he's back at practice now, Guerendo's out for a handful of weeks, you are not even letting Christian McCaffrey touch that football field come game time. Nope, don't play a single rep. You're done. If he does, it is going to be the most protected Christian McCaffrey you've ever seen in a preseason game. So I'm going to assume most, or at least Brock, McCaffrey, Bosa, Fred, and Trent will not play. Also, wouldn't be shocked to see Colton McKivitz, Brendel, and Pooney not play, but that's just me. San Francisco is really thin on the offensive line, so we'll see as things go on for the week. Maybe something else changes, I don't know, but right now I think you're going to see Brock and Christian McCaffrey probably not play at all, as they shouldn't. And look, Kyle Chipto here says no starters this week. They'll probably do a series or 2 in game 2. I would align with that. I just don't think that it's worth, like, if they didn't have joint practices, maybe that would be a valid stance. But with joint practices, you don't really want to do that. And, like, you don't really need to, what is the point of seeing Brock Purdy against the Broncos week 1? There's no point. I think maybe week 2, and maybe even week 3 at that point. So I think that you are not going to see starters against the Broncos this week. And if you do, I'll be very shocked. That said, there is 2 noteworthy things before we get into the takeaways of the show and of practice, because wide receiver Andy Isabella, who was signed last week, seemingly got hurt during warmups with the special teams group. Not sure what he did. Didn't finish practice. Didn't do any wide receiver drills with the team. After that, I'm not sure if that opens a door for maybe someone else's favorite player, whether it's Marquez Callaway, Equanimeous St. Brown, or in this case, Isaiah Nayor, to be back with the roster before practice tomorrow or before practice on Thursday. But Andy Isabella got hurt. Hope it isn't serious, but worth pointing out from today's practice. Also, Richard Sherman was at practice today, chatting up players and coaches. Nobody in particular that stood out, but just good to see him out there. Funny enough, he has kind of embraced being a San Francisco 49er more than the Seattle Seahawks. Now, there was some drama and beef, and there probably still is some hurt feelings there, but Sherman definitely, granted he is from California too, but Sherman is wholeheartedly a San Francisco 49er more than he is a Seattle Seahawk. It's kind of weird how that works, where I would never expect Justin Smith is much more of a Niner than he is a Bengal, right? I would never expect Navarro Bowman to be more of a Raider than a Niner. He's a Niner first, Raider second, if at all, in my opinion. But Sherman has, for all the chaos and heartbreak he caused us with Seattle, he loves being around San Francisco and the team. So good to see him out there having a blast, probably getting content for his podcast. Let's be honest. I'm sure we will learn of an interview somewhere down the road for somebody, whether it's Juwan or Brandon Ayuk or Fred or Nick Bosa, but I'm sure that's why he was there. Ulterior motives for Sherman. Now he's in the content game, but nonetheless, let's dive into today's practice and talk about Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, the backup quarterbacks, and get into some trench warfare. But first, I want to remind you to use that promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. My wife went back to work today. It's a bummer. Bummer summer is over. We are now in the school year for her. But before you get back into the school year with your kids or yourself, use that promo code, go watch some baseball, go to a concert, or even pre-order some Niner tickets and save yourself $20 off. Parking's expensive. Beer's expensive. Them new jerseys they're going to release in like 24 days will certainly be expensive. You can save yourself $20 off your travel to get there, and your tickets, maybe they can be reallocated elsewhere. Parking, maybe more beer. I don't know what you like, but use that promo code and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com. All right, let's dive into the actual practice field today, and let's talk about the starting quarterback, Brock Purdy, because Brock today was 9 for 13 and threw 2 touchdowns, looking good. Wasn't his best day. Wow, best day? I don't know where the Australian accent came from there, but here we are. It was not Brock Purdy's best day. He was 9 for 13, but he did throw 2 touchdowns. One to a wide open Patrick Taylor Jr. in red zone drills. There wasn't a defender near him for about 10 to 15 yards. I don't know how it happened that way, but if he's there, hit him. And got his first touchdown of the day to PTJ. Then he found George Kittle and Ricky Pearsall a handful of times. That was kind of the big stuff. Him and Kittle have, and like we've known this for a while now, I think they are maybe outside of Mahomes and Kelsey, probably the best quarterback tight end tandem in football. And I don't really think it's that close. Like, they are in lockstep all the time. They've proven to be that way, but in camp thus far, through 10 days of camp, it looks a little more dangerous than it usually has. More big plays are being thrown in there, and they tried today. They really tried to get Kittle open today. They have been kind of known in the last 2 practices to open things up with the big play to Kittle. They tried it again, but this time it was a bootleg out to begin practice, and Bryce Huff was just right there. Like, would have blocked the pass, would have made Purdy readjust himself and kind of make the play off. But Purdy, again, it's practice, so Purdy kind of got around him, I guess, and then kind of threw off his back footish to Kittle. Warner was all over him, got the PBU. He was flexing out there, having a good time. But there is an intention to get Kittle involved in the practice offense. I'm hoping that translates over because no Ayuk and no Jennings and no Cowing and maybe no Robinson. Like, George Kittle should be relied upon, not just throughout the entire year because he's great, but early on in that first 5-game stretch when, say, Jennings is still hurt or Robinson's out for a portion of time and Ayuk's on the shelf, you got to have your all-pro tight end out there making some plays for you. So I'm hoping they can translate, which they have had success doing it the last couple of seasons with Purdy at quarterback, but I want to see more of that. Make Kittle the focal point of the offense. Debo's gone. Make Kittle the new Debo. He is a mismatch for any defender. Like, linebackers, safeties, cornerbacks, Kittle can beat them on a continual basis. So good to see. It seems like Kittle has been more involved this training camp than previous ones. So maybe indication where things may be heading. If I was playing fantasy football, which I'm a 2-time champion, so I would buy stock highly. Like, number 1 tight end is George Kittle this year. Now, don't keep my word on that, but if you're buying stock now, Kittle stock should become very expensive as the season begins and progresses. But the other big one is Ricky Pearsall. It has been awesome to see him emerge, knowing he is going to be one of this team's biggest receivers to be relied upon this year. He has been, it's almost like him and Brock Purdy have the exact same mind. They are on the same page, like Kittle and Purdy are, but the chemistry there is growing. It looks great. Pearsall, when healthy, looks tremendous. Again, the routes are smooth. The cuts are just like crisp as can be. And he's not just like beating cornerbacks. Now, again, Lenore isn't out there. Green isn't out there. Like, there's backups out there. So that may give you some more context as to why this is happening. But, like, he's beating guys by 5 yards. Like, his routes are so precise. He's beating dudes by 5 yards. And it's like, wow, like, is that a knock on him because it's against backups, or he just that good where he's making these backups look like, or borderline fringe starters look like, third string cornerbacks, which may be some both involved there, but Pearsall has looked really, really good. He had 6 catches today, 3 in 1v1s, which favored the offense for sure, but he also had 3 more during team drills, and continues to stack days leading into his sophomore season with San Francisco. He caught a big deep pass from Mac Jones over the middle today. It could have been a touchdown. Mac Jones slightly underthrew it. You would have wanted that ball ahead of him, out in front of him, catch it in stride and run, but Mac Jones underthrew a little bit, caused Pearsall to kind of like have to pause and catch the football, but he had so much space where it was still a completion. Like he was covered by Trey Brown and Marquise Siegel, and they were just in the dust. Like they weren't even on your screen if you're watching on TV. He was so open. So a good play there from Pearsall, definitely putting his route running on display, which is a reason why he was drafted. So good to see that, which again should have been a touchdown had Mac Jones had a better pass to Pearsall on the day. But there's also a play during 1v1s where he was running a whip route and he hit that sucker so hard that he left. I think it was Fabian Moreau. I think Moreau, maybe Flowers. Either way, not important. But he, again, like Brown and Siegel, had the guy beat by 5 yards. And it's like, if he does that during games, he'll be a problem. He'll be a big problem because he just looks so good. Papa J says here, back to my Australian accent that came out of nowhere, Sterling from down under. I don't know where that came from, man. It's the Australian that is non-existent in me somehow coming out of me on a Monday evening. Lori Matthews says here in the YouTube chat, they will need that connection with the condition of the wide receiver room. I'm sure you're referring to George Kittle and somewhat Ricky Pearsall. Ant Ferg in the YouTube chat says this, that's why they gave Kittle another contract. He is Brock's security blanket. Even if he's lost a step, I don't think Kittle's lost a step. Like, I get it. He plays a physical brand of football. He's getting older. Kittle looks not as fast as he did when he was 25, but Kittle is, I think, as spry as ever. Like, he's moving around. He's constantly deep downfield, which you want to see. And he's beating guys deep downfield. So, good to see. But, again, your question's out here. Will he hold up as a focal point? I certainly hope so. Because if they do, like, there's some magic in the Purdy and Kittle connection. But I don't think Kittle's lost a step, and I certainly hope Kyle can continue to make him one of the key targets of the offense. And I think Purdy, without Debo, without having the security blanket of, say, that wide back end around, kind of behind the LOS that they have used in previous years, excuse me, I think that Kittle, will be one of Purdy's top targets this year, which he should be. He should be. Continuing here, because speaking about Pearsall, you love, whether it's Nick Bosa and Trent Williams, who lock horns at times, that catches your attention. You loved it when Ayuk and Fred Warner were always kind of going back and forth, and you love when you see Fred and Kittle going back and forth, and Fred guarding Kittle and all that stuff. We got a sophomore year player in Pearsall and a rookie Upton Stout. We saw them lock horns today, and it may have been like one of the best parts of practice. It was the highlight, I think, of the day, not the highlight play, but that was like the big, like, must-watch portion of practice when you had Upton Stout and Pearsall lined up against each other. Everyone's eyes went, we're watching that. Who cares about Jake Moody and Greg Joseph and Andy Isabella? No one cares. I want to see Purdy or Pearsall and Upton Stout. The first rep, Pearsall beat Stout on a comebacker, got on the outside of the numbers. Purdy hit him in right in the chest and got the win. But what you like to see from younger players, mainly rookies, but also second-year players too, is if they lose the first time, what do they do the next time? Are they eager to get back? Are they eager to prove themselves? Do they want that opportunity to say, hey, redo it, go again? And Stout was one of those guys today where he wanted Pearsall again. He got Pearsall again, and he beat Pearsall the second go-round where Pearsall ran an out route, and Stout he shadowed him the entire time, and he gave no space to move, was sticking to his hip. And when I tell you, like, it was one of the plays of the day, not the play, but one of the plays of the day. Got the PBU, broke the pass up, and it was like, woo-wee. Like, this rookie, one, will let you know when he's beat you, which is good to see. Fitz and Lenore and other guys in the secondary that you want to hear, and Fitz, that kind of chirpy, aggressive, smaller, undersized guy that they love out there in San Francisco. But also, he can cover really well. And for a guy like Pearsall, who's having this big day and been probably one of the most impressive wide receivers, if not the most impressive wide receiver, to see a young player, a rookie, almost say, like, I want that guy. I'm going to shut that guy down. That, to me, is a message, and I think it shows. Like, Stout was also good in the run game today, had a good stop against PTJ, and also had a PBU during a 1v1s against Russell Gage. But there's a reason after practice they asked Kyle Shanahan about of Upton Stout, and the words he used, although shouldn't be shocking at this point in time, but were very poignant of like, oh, okay, like clearly he is the starter. And the words Shanahan used were, it's why he, being Upton Stout, is passing a lot of people on the depth chart. There's not many guys for him to pass on the depth chart, knowing he only plays nickelback. So I think you may know who your starting nickelback corner will be when the year starts, if Lenore and Renardo Green are healthy. But I think Stout's won the job. It's early, so that may change as games come and go. But the way that Saleh has praised him, the way that Shanahan has praised him on back-to-back practices, that's a big deal. Like, that's a really big deal. And I think, for a guy that Western Kentucky, I think, and just kind of no one really knew who he was, and, third-round pick, like, okay. And to some, it was a reach because, like, the nickel backs were flying off the board, and San Francisco really wanted one to keep Lenore on the outside. And Stout looks like he's every bit ready for that role in year one. He's taking shots at big dogs. He's wanting to take down smaller ones too, and he's making the best and the most of his opportunities with the first team defense. No Lenore, no Green. He's in there all the time, and he's looked like he's ready for a bigger role. Despite being in a first year of his career, he looks really good thus far. So very impressive by him, and also, like, you love to see it. He's awesome. He's awesome. Ned Stone, watching from Perth, Australia. Dude, you missed my Australian accent on accident earlier, man. Hope you're having a great day, Ned. What time is it in Perth, Australia? Sometimes I watch like the WWE stuff out there, and it's always like an awkward time for us here in the States. But happy you're watching. Appreciate you being over there. That's awesome to see. We're international today. That's awesome. Thank you, Ned. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a great day, evening, night, noon, whatever it is out there. Hope you're doing great, brother, and hope you have a great rest of your day. But let's continue to move on here to the backup quarterbacks, because we care about backup quarterbacks so much on the show. Mac Jones today was 11 for 14. Had that near touchdown pass to Pearsall. If you can just lead a brother further, you'll score touchdowns, Mac. But also threw, I think, maybe one of the best throws of the day to Demarcus Robinson over the middle. Robinson's a bigger receiver, mind you, but like he just one hand and just boop, pulled it down. And it was like, oh, okay. Didn't know you could do that. But Mac Jones continues to look confident in this offense. And then Carter Bradley, who I know we kind of already talked about as can he be QB3? Will he make the roster? Not that I care about those conversations, but he was 4 for 9 today. Got his first like extended third string looks with the offense. And I think he looked pretty good. Again, you're playing third stringer, so what does that mean? But with what he played against, he looked okay, like I can see why they were, at least at this point in time, okay releasing Tanner Mordecai to give Carter Bradley an opportunity. Like, they know Mordecai, saw him last year, seeing this year so far. But Carter Bradley is kind of an unknown to them. He's obviously Gus Bradley's son. But 4 for 9 today. I think he had the best throw of the day. It was a final play of practice. It was a deep shot to Tariq Owens, like 30, 40, 50 yards downfield. Just like, I don't know what it was, but it was like, you saw it and it was like, fling, and you went, oh my God, where's that going? Oh my God, Tariq Owens is there. Oh my God, touchdown. Like, okay, where'd that come from? So that was pretty cool to see. We also saw Bradley throw a touchdown to Jordan Watkins during red zone drills that was thrown into a tight window, which usually you wouldn't want your backups to make those throws. But again, third string quarterback making plays, like, not to compare him whatsoever, but it's those kind of plays where you are a little more ballsy and gutsy and aren't afraid to sling it that can either doom you or also be really good for you. And I think that's what kind of impressed Kyle, amongst other things, to Brock Purdy, of like, Brock has played so unafraid. Bradley does, at least in this one play's instance. He was slinging the puppy around, which you want to see. You want to see third string quarterbacks trying to do things where most guys, they be complacent. Like, you want to be Drew Stanton? Nobody wants Drew Stanton. Like, Drew Stanton may be the most like white paper, blank piece of cardboard ever. Now, he played for a decade plus, but you want some more from your quarterbacks than Drew Stanton. All due respect. And so, good for Carter Bradley, forcing some plays and showing off his arm in a very short portion of practice today. Strawberry reacts here in the YouTube chat. Strawberry, happy you're back in the YouTube chat for us today. They say, Sterling, quick question. Is it normal for the QB2 to consistently get more reps than the QB1? Just seems like Brock has less reps than Mac every day. It depends on the practice. I know sometimes Purdy has gotten either equal to or less. I also think a lot of that is because they just know Brock a lot more, and I think that there have been some running plays from Brock, which may take away from the throws, where Mac is more prone to throw the football compared to Brock. So I think knowing that, it may, like, so again, today, for example, where Jones has 14 attempts and Brock has 13. It's only one off. And one of those plays, again, like, it just one snap. Sometimes it just depends on, did you score a touchdown? How many plays were involved in there? So I wouldn't look too much into that. It's not a common thing for a quarterback to consistently have more reps than the quarterback one. Usually that would be the reverse of that, and quarterback one gets more reps. But having been there for a handful of years and seeing them in person, like, I'm not shocked. Like, sometimes Brock would just not, like, take last year, for example. Like, you would see Joshua Dobbs and you would see Brandon Allen at times getting more reps than Brock. Sometimes it's because they want to see those guys more, and if there is a competition back there, they want to see those guys more. But and also, again, like, Brock will run at times. Brock will also just be more efficient and score more touchdowns. So that may take the offense off the field sooner than others. But also, like, if Brock looks good and like they're two thumbs up, like, hey, we got it, like, let's move on, then the backups get in. But I wouldn't. To me, like, today, for example, 13 pass attempts and 14, not really that big of a deal. Sometimes it's in move the ball drills, they do, like, we have 4 down. So say Brock gets the first down on pass 2, and then scores on pass 11, but Mac Jones takes 2 extra plays to get a first down, then boom, there's your difference there. So it's just like a normal game of football. It may take one team 20 plays to score. It may take one team 1 play to score. Same thing as that. But good question. If you aren't there at training camp, you wouldn't know that. So it's a good question and happy to answer for you. So thank you for the question, Strawberry, in the YouTube chat. But let's get to the trenches. And we have a defensive-heavy, rookie-laden takeaway for you because no Nick Bosa, no Sam Aquanu, no Yetur Gross-Matos, not much from Bryce Huff today. There was no Trent Williams out there. It is a defensive-focused, and we have 3 of their defensive line draft picks to talk about. And let's kick things off with the most impressive one thus far, that being C.J. West. Got some first-team reps for the first time today alongside Kevin Givens, alongside Kalia Davis because Kevin Givens was not at practice because he's hurt. So good to see there for West, finally getting some first-team reps and getting out of not having to beat Drew Moss and Connor Colby and Drake Nugent over and over and over again. Now get some real competition, some starting caliber competition to go against. And he beat Jake Brendel, which maybe won't shock many of you out there, but he beat Jake Brendel. It wasn't as easy as, Colby or Drew Moss were or is at times, and Zach Johnson and those like lower level offensive linemen. But West beat Jake Brendel off the rip, was strong, powerful, moved him back and kind of got around him. That was good to see. And then also, funny enough, speaking of Drew Moss stonewalled him and stood him up during one of their drills, and then later West got him back. So there was some give and take on the day, but wherever he lost, he came back and beat the guy later. But it's good to see, like, when veterans that likely will be just placeholders get hurt. Like, take last year, Dominic Puni, for example. He was not supposed to start. It was John Feliciano's job. Burford was the backup. They didn't know if it was going to be Burford at tackle or right guard or left tackle or left guard, or if Puni would play right tackle, or like they didn't know, right? Feliciano gets hurt, misses the entire season. Burford gets hurt early, breaks his hand, and then boom, it's Puni's job, never gives it up, and here we are. So I'm not saying West is on that trajectory, but with Kevin Givens missing a portion of the regular season with the pectoral injury, there is a job up for grabs, and Jordan Elliott's job isn't safe. Evan Anderson's job is not safe. So if West continues to play well and get first-team reps and prove he can do this against the starters, there is a fast track to being a starter for C.J. West, maybe on the table for him as early as right now. So that's good to see. I will give Drew Moss a shout-out. I think, although I'm not very high on him, he's a strong dude. Like, he has stonewalled West a handful of times. Not a lot, but, you don't go against, in 1v1s a lot. You're kind of rotating against different guys. And so to see him take a guy who has had a really good camp thus far in West and has beat guys with his power, Puni and Brendel, among those guys, you see West go against Moss, and Moss just stands him up, and you're like, there's something there. I don't know what that is. That may be a backup guard. It could be a backup center. It could be a practice squad guy that grows. San Francisco is never afraid to stash players, and I think Moss is kind of growing on me as to being one of those guys. And for as weak as the offensive line backups are, and how frail may be the word to use the starting offensive line may be, with Trent and Ben Barch having serious injury concerns, Moss may be one to keep an eye on as things go on here in training camp and preseason. If he does well in joint practices, he may be on my next roster prediction list on the actual roster. Mykel Williams, though, the first-round pick out of Georgia, he had himself another good day. He is still nursing an ankle injury, so there is a rep count against him, so you're not going to see him out there every single play. Hopefully that's cleared up by Thursday and by Saturday, because I think fans want to see him out there a lot in the preseason debut. But he's starting to show a little bit more of a pass rushing plan where, like Alfred Collins and C.J. West, it's a lot of power. It's strong, long-armed, get inside your pads and push it back. Whereas today, although I do think Mykel has a more expansive pass rushing tree, if that's the word you want to use, then people want to give him credit for. He just is so strong where he relies on that a lot, where if you can bully guys, that'll be your like default move. So, but today, use the swim move to get past Zach Johnson, which again may not mean much, but he's also rushing from the inside. So Mykel right now continues to be a very impressive interior pass rusher, which I think again will be his role on third downs. And I think, as like the beautiful thing about Mykel is that he can play first and second down on the end. And if he continues to set the hard edge, he will be a third down player, a 3-down player this year, like bar none. He's going to start on base downs for sure. But like that perfect world is like, let's move him on the inside, get that pass rush, get the power, let him inside those guards that have short arms that can't do anything like T-Rexes, and let him just annihilate dudes on the interior, which he's done a lot of in training camp. So if he can set that hard edge, and as a rookie, yes, still need to grow as a pass rusher with the way he gets to the quarterback, but he can learn while also still being successful at getting to the quarterback by or being an interior defensive lineman. So a lot to like there from him. He, again, still looks good. He's growing early and kind of getting things quickly. So, and also Mykel is so likable. Such a kind dude, always smiling. He's fierce. He's intimidating, but he has that big, bright smile. You say, man, like I want to be and hang out with that guy. That guy seems really kind of nice. So San Francisco, although not actual game time yet, in a very small 10 training camp day sample size, it seems like they got a good one, a really good one that has a high potential. Then Alfred Collins, a guy that has had a lot of bumps on his record already as a rookie, but he's starting to show signs of that second round talent that, maybe just needed to get healthy to begin the year, but he's starting to show more than just power, where his game is being big, space eater, lane clogger, just power, take on double teams. He's starting to show a better attack as a pass rusher. And also, the biggest thing with him, which is like the one thing everybody, their mom, their dad, their cousin, their uncle, their funkle, it don't matter who it was, they were saying, Alfred Collins can be really good, but he's got to get that pad level down. And you can tell. I was there a couple years ago, and Chris Kosherek would yell, ass down, ass down, ass down, telling these guys, get down. Like, you need to get your pad level down. And so you can tell Kosherek has been in his ear yelling at Alfred Collins, ass down, ass down, ass down, and definitely working on him, because today his pad level was much lower and allowed him to just annihilate Drake Nugent, just get right by him with ease. And it was like, oh, okay. Like, if you can do that at a consistent rate, opposing offensive lines are in trouble now. It's Drake Nugent. It's not Pooney or Barch or other, like, it ain't Philadelphia's offensive line, mind you, but they're kind of bringing him along pretty slowly, which is fine. But as a pass rusher, or even as a run blocker, if you can get low, gain leverage, he's a really big dude. It's hard. He does not have natural leverage, but if he can get low to the ground and get under people, man, like, there's a really special talent in Alfred Collins. You want to see a better motor at times, but get that pad level lower. Like, to me, one of the big issues with Collins has been, without knowing his mentals yet, it's like, do you have that perseverance to keep pushing when you lose the first time? And I think for Collins, one way to eliminate that is don't lose the first time. And one way to do that is get your pads lower. If you win and he knows he's winning, he'll keep going and going and going. Now, you want to clean up, not pushing after you lose, but if you get a guy with confidence of like, I can beat anybody, and I'm so strong and I'm so big, and if you can get your ass down, get some leverage, Collins could be a problem for the offensive lines this season. So good to see there. Then to end today's show, Bradlee Anae, the new guy, signed this morning, yesterday, kind of out of nowhere. He didn't come in for a workout. He wasn't around. Just boop, he's a San Francisco 49er. He worked with the third unit, the third team defense today primarily, and he had what seemed like 3 would-be sacks. So a lot there. That's a lot of sacks for your debut, if you will, for Bradlee Anae, but a good first day, a really impressive first day for the new defensive end. Let's get to the YouTube comments to end today's show and wrap things up, because Joseph Ehrenberg, he says here in the YouTube chat, what's the worst record the Niners could have this season that is acceptable for Sterling? Well, I'll say this. You need to make the playoffs. That's like a guarantee. You cannot have McCaffrey, Kittle, Warner, Bosa, and Lenore, all these highly paid guys, pay Purdy. Hopefully he gets back healthy, but like the talent is still evident on the roster. It may be younger than it usually is and unproven compared to previous teams, but this year, similar to the previous couple of years, is playoff or bust, albeit the expectations are not Super Bowl or bust anymore, at least in year one of this new kind of retooling. It certainly is playoff or bust. Now, does that mean they go, 12-5? Awesome. I would love that. I think the lowest I would take is be above 500, be 9-8. But that has to equal going to the playoffs. And if you're 9-8, you can't be a one and done. Like, you have to be a scary 9-8, go into someone's place and beat them. So now personally, I would like to hold them on or more accountable. I think they'll be 10-7 this year. But if they're 10-7 and our wild card team, cool, awesome, great. But I think anything under 500 is a bad. If you're 8-9, you're 7-10, no, like that can't happen unless someone gets hurt. Like if Purdy gets hurt, if McCaffrey goes down, or Kittle, like if like a really important player goes down, then the expectations should change. But if they're healthy for the most part of the year, you better be above 500 this season, 9-8 at the worst, and a playoff run has to be in there. It doesn't have to be an NFC title game, but wild card win, 9-8, that's okay. Let's see what we have here. Strawberry Reacts says this. Sterling, which starters do you think play on Saturday in the actual game? Let's see. You're going to see guys competing for jobs play. So Trey Brown will play. Upton Stout will play. Let's see. Pearsall will probably play. They don't have many receivers, so he should play. Demarcus Robinson will probably play. At least that's my assumption. Everybody else in that room should play. Kittle won't play. Purdy shouldn't play. McCaffrey shouldn't play. I'm a little torn on the offensive line because Shanahan talked about Ben Barch and Nick Zakello being in competition, but then Miyoko said, that's wrapped up. It's over, so I'm not really sure there. I think the defensive line doesn't really have any bona fide starters besides Nick Bosa. Maybe Bryce Huff doesn't play. D. Winters should probably play. The safety room will all play. I think everybody but Brock, McCaffrey, Kittle, Trent, Brendel, McKivitz, and Pooney. So 7 offensive starters won't play. And then defense is just Bosa and Warner, I think. And then guys are hurt, so whatever. But I think those are the guys that will play. It shouldn't be too many guys that don't play. Let's see. Who else do we have in the YouTube chat? Papa J says here, the word of the day is nepotism. Tell Carter Bradley that. Man, oh man. Let's see what else we have here. Joseph Ehrenberg says this. They are going to go 15-2 and win the Super Bowl. Joseph, I like the optimism. I don't agree with you, but I like where your head's at. I really appreciate that. And then we also, let's see what we have here. Joseph also says here, I really want to see how Corey Kiner does. Yep. The worst part of football is the injuries and losing. The best part is when guys are not hurt for long times, whatever. In an extended period of time is how I'll word that, I guess. Is you get to see younger guys behind them get really important reps and hopefully prove themselves. Last year it was Guerendo. A couple years ago it was Jordan Mason. You've seen veterans earn jobs. I think this year was like the Niners may be one of the most, besides me being a fan and covering them for my job, like maybe one of the more intriguing teams to watch because they have so many great players, but so many holes to fill where like you're watching nickelback rooms, you're watching both safety positions, you're watching linebacker 3, you're watching defensive lines outside of Bosa on the entire thing. You're watching the offensive line mainly at left guard and the backup stuff. You're watching receivers. Like you're watching now with Guerendo being out and McCaffrey probably not playing. You're watching Jordan James and Corey Kiner and Amir Abdullah and those guys. So I can't wait. Kiner has been really impressive. But once those pads come on and once you're playing a different team, things change. And I hope we can get like a breakout player where you're like, oh, like that was awesome. So would love to see that. But that's kind of all I got for you. 1 hour of day 10 of San Francisco 49ers training camp. It was a fun day. They practice tomorrow, that being Tuesday. Have an off day on Wednesday. They have a walkthrough that day. Then joint practices on Thursday, an off day on Friday. And then football is back on Saturday. Niners versus Broncos. I cannot wait. It's going to be so fun, so awesome. But just 2 more practices this week, Tuesday and Thursday. So should be really fun to watch. Hopefully you'll come back here to this very YouTube channel or podcasting channel to watch and listen to my takeaways from tomorrow and on Thursday. But you can also follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. Hopefully you can use that promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. And that said, I want to thank Lori Matthews, Papa J, Strawberry Reacts, Joseph Ernberg, Cowwood Chipto, many, many more in the YouTube chat. I'm going to keep going up and get to every single one of you on here. If I miss you, I'm sorry. Ned Stone out there in Perth, Australia, and Ferg as well. All of you are great. I appreciate your time, and thank you for watching on a Monday evening, afternoon, or night, wherever you may be. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Hopefully you'll come back here tomorrow on Tuesday and throughout the rest of the week, leading into preseason, week number 1, this Saturday, Niners, Broncos, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga back in the Bay, and Mike McGlinchey back in the Bay for the first time since their departures. But until then, my name is Sterling Bennett. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. And as always, until next time, stay faithful.